Los Angeles, I'm and most Hollywood nights. She goes to California, oh, California.
What you say about Los Angeles?
LA got the people saying.
You're listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. It's time for another episode of Corner of the Galaxy from the Box, the show that gets you behind the scenes of the LA Galaxy and into the minds of soccer reporters and MLS experts. Your hosts for the day are Corner of the Galaxy's Josh Guesman and LA Times soccer reporter Kevin Baxter. Let's start the show.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Corner of the Galaxy from the Box on cornerofthegalaxy.com. I'm your host, Josh Guesman, coming to you on a Monday, January 29th. LA Galaxy get through their first preseason game of the 2024 season. Do we have any details? A couple. We'll talk a little bit about that, tell you what's going on. We're going to, of course, remind you what's going on at the Coachella Valley Invitational coming up in just a little bit. In fact, the Galaxy getting ready to play their first sort of and last game at Dignity Health Sports Park before going off into the desert. We're going to talk a little bit about the St. Louis game as well. We got some news, some little interesting tidbits here and there, and we can't wait to talk with you on this lovely Monday. It's game week. Galaxy have a game. Stadium will be open on Saturday. We're excited to have you. Of course, with me as always, we're glad to have him back, Mr. Kevin the Panda Baxter. Kev, how you doing, bud?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting when you contacted the Galaxy for some information on that game today, and they said there's a reason it was a closed-door scrimmage.
I mean, I always try, right? Like, I get it. Right?
No, that's what we're supposed to do.
Right? It's like, hey, you guys want to talk to me? And they're like, no. Okay, that's cool.
Did you hear the rumors about a possible mid-season friendly with the Kansas City Chiefs?
With the Kansas City Chiefs?
Yeah, they want to try to get Taylor Swift to come to a game.
Oh, yeah, I don't think that's happening. Although I was talking with somebody and they're like, so you think Taylor Swift listens to Corner of the Galaxy? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. Like, you guys, yeah, right. I was like, you guys want her here? That's not a problem. Not a problem. We'll change the name to Corner of the Galaxy number 13, and that'll.
I know she's. Hi, Taylor.
Yeah, of course.
Hi, Taylor.
No, this is an interesting. Listen, I mean, before we even get too far, I know that you were down near me not too long ago, and you decided that you didn't want to stop by and say hi. You were literally driving by my house, by my office. Yeah, you waved. That was it. But you were like, no. I made the trek from, northern Washington State all the way down to basically, South Orange County to go visit some former LA Galaxy friends. You want to tell everybody about that?
Yeah, I went down to visit Ethan Zubek and Cameron Dunbar, who are playing for Orange County. Also Owen Lamb, who played for Galaxy 2. They're all playing for Orange County Soccer Club. And I went down there to do the story. The idea was, Zubek and Dunbar were guys who appeared to have big upsides when they started their MLS career as homegrown players. And signing with Orange County, my thought was, are you guys trying to get back to MLS? What's your plan? And they both actually said, no, the goal is to get to Europe. And they think Orange County Soccer Club is a better platform to get to Europe. And that sounds ridiculous until you look at the stats from Transfer Market. Over the last 4 seasons, no MLS team has sent more players, over the last 3 seasons rather, no MLS team has sent more players to Europe than Orange County Soccer Club. They sent 4. Over the last 10 years, they've sent 29. Only 4 teams in MLS, or in U.S. and Canada, for that matter, have sent more players. So, going to Orange County Soccer Club is not a bad place if you want to go to Europe. They have connections there. Their entire coaching staff is all from Europe. They've all played and coached in Europe. One of them, their head coach now, coached in the World Cup. So it's a good place to go if you want to go to Europe. And I was a little bit surprised to find that out, but that's where Ethan Zubik and Cameron Dunbar are, and they, next stop Europe for them.
That's always interesting. Always fun to sort of see where everybody is and sort of how that goes. I would imagine that even if you have younger players and they're even in Major League Soccer, that they're like, Europe is where I want to go. I mean, for the most part, I think there's like, I'd love to go to Europe, but I do find it interesting. They think that they're going to bypass, sort of the MLS route. And there are so many leagues and so many different levels in Europe. There are places, I think, for guys like Ethan Zubak or Cameron Dunbar or that type of thing. I think you can find it. Just don't, when we say Europe, I think everybody thinks, oh, they're going to play for Real Madrid and, Barcelona, they're going to play for Chelsea, that type of thing. And usually it's like second, third division German leagues
Exactly.
that we're looking at.
That's what happened with the guy. Most of the guys Orange County has sent over. They played in second division teams. But, like Milan Olowski, who was there last year, a former UCLA player, signed as a homegrown player, played in MLS, or rather signed in MLS, never played. And his idea was like, look, I'm a good player. I need a chance to play. And as Owen Lamb said, I need to play to develop. And so what happened is Olowski came to Orange County, led the league and, won the Golden Boot, and moved on to Europe. Never got a chance to play in MLS. And that's both what Dunbar and Zubik said. I think Zubik played something like 341 minutes the last 2 years at Nashville.
Right.
That's not going to impress anybody. At 25, he's kind of facing the clock. And so he said, let me come play. I'll get to play 34 games here in Orange County, and we'll see what happens.
It's a very interesting sort of take on everything. So I'll hang out and watch that. Let's sort of see. I like USL. I like watching USL games. I like sort of the way that league is sort of developed. I'm less of a fan of how Major League Soccer is trying to do its MLS Next Pro and sort of to try and, I think, steal some of the thunder away from USL, because USL is growing to be a pretty independent and strong league on its own. So now we have to sort of watch how that develops. So I'm interested to see how Orange County sort of fares and, how they sort of continue to develop that league, especially without MLS's inclusion now.
Yeah, and, Phoenix Rising is going to be in the Coachella tournament, but MLS forced San Diego Loyal out, basically forced them out when they put an expansion franchise down there. It took away a natural rival from Orange County. But Ethan and I had a kind of interesting conversation. Something that's always intrigued me is, athletes face a very short window to make their career.
Yes.
The best, the healthiest guys last 20 years, that's very few players make it that far. Usually an average career in MLS is 3, 4, 5 years. And so you have a very small window to make your mark. And I always thought, what about the guy who was a really great shortstop, but he was in the Yankees system behind Derek Jeter? What happened to him?
Isn't that my argument? Somebody go back and check the tapes. I know I've made that argument multiple times, but yes, you are right. If you're behind Derek Jeter, you were never playing. It doesn't matter. You could have been the second best shortstop to have ever played the game behind maybe Derek Jeter, and you still would have never played because Derek Jeter was there.
And so what do you do in that instance? And Ethan talked to me about, he said, I thought I was playing a lot for the Galaxy. Chicharito was the guy, but I was kind of like the first guy off the bench. And he said, and then, they signed Joveljic. And then all of a sudden I'm out of a job. And Cameron Dunbar said the same thing. He said, I played a lot under Guillermo, and then there was a coaching change. And all of a sudden, there's no playing time for me anymore. And it's not like they're a different player. It's just that the system changed, or in the chance of Joveljic, here's a guy getting a lot of money, Ethan Zubik not getting a lot of money.
Right.
Who gets the more chances? So now they're in Orange County just trying to say, look, this is what you guys passed up. If you give me 34 games a year, here's what I can deliver. Good luck to them. I hope it works.
A lot of fun to sort of see that.
They're both really good guys, by the way.
I always liked Ethan, always liked Cameron Dunbar as well. And playing at Orange County, they have a cool little stadium down there, as the Galaxy have played down there some preseason friendlies before. Speaking of preseason friendlies, Galaxy basically on, we'll call it the eve of heading to Coachella. Not quite. They have to play St. Louis this Saturday, and we'll give you the information on that game just in case you're wondering. Saturday, February 3rd, 2024, 1 p.m. kickoff at Dignity Health Sports Park. Again, it will be streamed, and we'll get to the news here on LAGalaxy.com. So if you're not going to be there, I'm not going to be there, by the way. I would like to be there. I'm not going to be there, but I am going to make it out to Coachella on the 11th. For all that, but it will be fun and good to be able to watch these games. And Kevin, that was sort of the news that you broke last Monday, that the LA Galaxy would be streaming all these games. It's really interesting to see what is happening at the Coachella Valley Invitational right now, the CVI, right? And the reason I say it's interesting to see is that there are a lot of teams that are announcing X number of games will be streamed from Coachella, right? And the Galaxy are saying, listen, all of the games that we play from now, starting with St. Louis, all the way through this Coachella Valley Invitational tournament, will be streamed on LAGalaxy.com. I don't know if there's going to be location restrictions on this, so don't freak out about it yet. We'll figure that part out. But a lot of times there is. But with Apple not having location restrictions, I wonder if they're sort of like, hey, go ahead. You could throw it out to whoever you want. But what you need to know is that the St. Louis game coming up this weekend, LAGalaxy.com. The Charlotte game that kicks off at 11 a.m. at Coachella, at the Coachella Valley Invitational, that first game on February 7th. That game is going to be streamed on LAGalaxy.com. Same with the Austin game, the game that we're going to be at, Kevin, you and I. We're going to watch the LA Galaxy and then do a live show. We'll give you the details here of that again in just a second, but that'll be streamed. The game against New York City will be streamed. The game against Red Bull New York. You're going to basically be able to sit at your office if you're working in an office, or maybe you're out in the field, you're doing something, pull it up on your phone and be able to stream that game and watch these preseason games. And to my knowledge, I don't know that any of in all the years we've sort of been watching the LA Galaxy, that quote unquote all of the games will more or less be streamed on LAGalaxy.com. You get to watch every preseason game the Galaxy play in, save for the one that just happened in the closed doors that there were no cameras at.
Even the Dodgers don't do that.
I think it's a much bigger deal than people think. But the really interesting thing is that there are some teams that are participating, and if we go and we can look at all the different teams and the schedules. But if you go look, some like Austin is going to, I think, basically stream like one or two of their games, but they're not doing all three because basically both teams have to agree to stream it. And I think they probably have to share the cost of streaming it too, right? It's one of those where Coachella will stream it for you, but you guys have to pay. And then that also means that the team wants to do that, right? Both teams have to agree to stream the game in order for it to be streamed, right? So Austin's not going to get all of their games, but the Galaxy get all of their games because all of their opponents agreed to do it, along with the LA Galaxy agreeing to do it. So watch that. As you will be able to see some games from some teams and some games not. And for me, that's an interesting little wrinkle. It's like, oh, so some teams aren't going to be streaming their games. That's a fun one.
What do you think the quality of that's going to be like? Is it pretty good?
I imagine it'll be fine. I mean, Coachella is a highly technical setup that happens for the biggest concerts and stuff in the in the world. I mean, this is a big deal. AEG, Golden Voice, these people are not small players. They should be able to figure out how to point the antenna in the right direction, get those rabbit ears going, right, Kevin?
Well, I just never forget back in the day, and this has been a while, when U.S. Open Cup games used to be streamed, and it was like one camera high up in the press box.
I imagine that's it's going to have a similar feel. I don't know that there will be multiple camera angles, but you know what? We can always ask that question. Well, we could try, right? But it's one of those, I wouldn't expect, it's full on 7 cameras and all this stuff, but one camera from a high angle is just fine for me for a preseason game. You know what I mean? And I think the quality in streaming will match the quality on the field. These are preseason games. If you saw Miami today play against Al Hilal, there was definitely some preseason in those Miami legs and everything that sort of happened. And I have a feeling that Al Hilal let off the gas in that second half, maybe on purpose. Maybe there was an agreement that said we weren't going to blow everybody out of the water because were like 2 night and day different teams between those two. But Miami continues its like 700,000 mile trip around the sun and back. And I keep watching because obviously that's the Galaxy's first game. And I'm like, how are they developing and what can you watch? Well, now Galaxy fans will be able to watch how the LA Galaxy are developing throughout this because most of Miami's games so far have been televised.
Well, and the Galaxy, they scored a goal today. We know that came through the closed door. So they have one more goal than Miami scored in their first 2 games, although they did get 3 in the second half today. But first 2 games, Miami did not score. They still haven't won.
I mean, I think you're less concerned about that overall. I'm sorry, I'm typing, I'm texting and doing a podcast at the same time. There's news that's stirring, so I'm paying attention to. So anyway, it's just I think the fact and the ability for LA Galaxy fans to be able to watch all these games, Kevin. I mean, we talk about like little leaps and little things that are happening. I think that's huge in the development of the sport because I know not everybody's going to make it out to Coachella. We know that there's a cost associated without just getting out there. There's a cost associated with that. And so if you're able to watch all the games and, some of these will be playing, some of these games will be playing, will be played like earlier in the morning, 11 o'clock, that type of thing. We talked about the LA Galaxy in Austin playing at 10 a.m. on February 11th, right? That's one that's early in the morning, so you'll be able to watch that as well. So I just like those little things. Let's give people the information, though, once again, about Corner of the Galaxy. And I'm saying, playing Coachella one night only, Corner of the Galaxy right there. I told Kevin before the show started, I want to get a shirt that says COG plays Coachella February 11th, blah, 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 the whole deal. Because, I mean, when am I ever going to get to say that again, right? I told my dad, by the way, today, because I was saying, hey, if you're free, come on out. But of course, there's a big game going on that day, so he was like, oh no, I have a party to go to, right? And so I was like, okay, cool, no problems. He's like, but you, what do you mean you're playing Coachella? Because I of course put it up that way. I tell everybody I'm playing Coachella on the 11th. Sorry, can't hang out.
Did Taylor ever play Coachella?
I don't know that she's ever. Did she guess?
We might be ahead of Taylor Swift.
Well, I mean, we're BFFs, so I'm sure she'll be there. No, so it's a really fun thing that I think we're going to get to do. So again, we will be basically live after the LA Galaxy play against Austin FC. That game starts at 10, should be over around 12. Right around between 12 and 12:30, we should start, I would imagine, like 12:10, 12:15, because we need to get Galaxy players, and they want to go and shower and do all that fun stuff. So we're going to try to get some Galaxy players, Galaxy coaches, Galaxy front office staff. We have a real big lineup sort of lined up for you, and we will be
just like Coachella.
It's a lineup that is very reminiscent of all the best acts in Coachella. By
the way, what are the chances do you think that Taylor Swift will ever write a song about me?
0.
Yeah, I agree. But one thing before we get away from the streaming, it is a costly thing, and I see it as the Galaxy servicing the fans, having the Coachella Invitational in the first place, but having it here, but then the streaming, for people that can't make the 2-hour drive or 3-hour drive, or in my case, overnight drive out to the desert. It's servicing the fans, and it kind of goes back to, we asked the Galaxy, why did they have the messy game, the opener, at home when they could have gone to the Rose Bowl or the SoFi or anywhere else and sold way more tickets, just as Kansas City did. Sporting Kansas City is going to go play in Arrowhead when Messi comes. Why did the Galaxy do that and not take advantage of the ability to sell more tickets? And they said, we wanted to show the fans the new atmosphere at home. We wanted to play at home. We wanted to play in our building, and we're going to sacrifice that revenue. And that, to me, was a little bit servicing the fans too.
Maybe. I mean, certainly. You could probably service more fans if we went to a bigger one, but I know what you mean. I think Galaxy fans would like to play the majority of their games at Dignity Health Sports Park. It's what you know. It's your home, right? It's sort of like, this is my home. This is where I go. I know how to do this. I know how to get in. I know how to get out. All those fun things. So that going on. Just a reminder, get your Coachella Valley Invitational tickets, VIP passes, general admission passes, all that stuff there for you. One of the other things that is going on, and by the way, the schedule of teams is great. And on the 11th, there's 2 games that day. You'll get to see the LA Galaxy in Austin, and then LAFC in Chicago. Hopefully after the LA Galaxy and Austin game, you're going to stick around and hang out with us for a little bit as we go through some LA Galaxy famous people. Let's see. Okay, I got so what I'm hearing. Are you ready? Breaking news. Right, I know. Do we have? Hold on. Let me see if I have like any of the fun things. There was like horn jazz. How about let's try. No, that didn't.
That's
really
not really breaking news.
No, breaking news. Yeah, I have been. I have been told that there looks like there will be 2 to 3 cameras on the broadcast. Whenever that takes place. So you are going to get, I think, a fairly good and robust broadcast when you think about it. 2 to 3 cameras, that's fine, right? Usually low angle, 1 high at midfield, usually 1 on either side of the half line at the sort of where the offside lines are, probably a little bit lower on the angles. Could be a higher. They could be putting those up on some of the towers and sort of shooting those down too. So I think if you're telling me you have 2 to 3 cameras for a preseason game, I'm ecstatic, because that's
we're
great.
Talking about
yes,
cameras, the guy sitting there moving it, not like on a tripod.
I mean, it could be. I mean, it could be remote control. I don't know.
If it's a camera with a camera operator, we're talking about some serious coin, because those guys get union wages on a weekend. That's going to be a lot of money. Probably have to have a producer to decide which camera angle to pick.
Camera 1,
that
go.
Sounds like it's getting expensive.
Camera 3, go. It's probably just some dude like me who presses buttons on a keyboard. I mean, it really doesn't have to be that exotic anymore, Kevin. You're thinking like old school, where they had like tubes and vacuum tubes and capacitors.
And you have to have the camera looking for Taylor Swift up in the Coachella press box.
Oh, obsessed you are. And I'm the Swiftie, and you're the one who can't stop talking.
I have never heard one of her songs. I don't believe. Start to finish.
It's that would be on you.
I'm the only one.
You have to
I'm the one.
Be pretty hard. You have to try pretty hard to stay out of that. But no. I think the Coachella Valley Invitational is going to be pretty cool in terms of everything that they're doing. So, and remember, every time I say this, and it was funny because I was actually having a little planning meeting with the LA Galaxy, and this isn't talk a little behind or inside baseball, but we're having a planning meeting for the podcast and doing all this stuff. And I started off by saying, I'm like, I am without you guys inviting me, and I've said this now since the first time I went, because remember I went when there were no fans allowed, right? I was there when there was nobody. It was just reporters, and we could hang off on the sideline. And I went and I said the potential for this is so big. The ability for this could be gigantic, right? And so you're starting to see that stuff like fall into place slowly but surely. And this broadcasting from there, I think, is just gigantic in terms of what it could do for that tournament.
See, the Galaxy should listen to us more often.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree all the time. I think they should just everything we say on the podcast, just do, and that makes our life a lot easier. No, it was a really fun meeting, and I'm excited that we're able to put together the live show. So that's for you there. Another thing that's happening out at Coachella Valley Invitational, just in case you didn't know, there is a youth development camp, basically for ages 6 to 14 years old, boys and girls, sort of that skill level beginner. They are out there, and there's a camp that is able to take place on that, and it's at the actual Coachella. That's February 9th through 11th, Friday from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m., Saturday 4 p.m. to 7 p.m., and Sunday 8 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. $205 is the cost on that. You also get a general admission CBI pass to watch the Coachella Valley Invitational the weekend of February 10th or February 11th, so that's also included in that. There's an LA Galaxy gift bag, all that sort of fun stuff. I think it's cool. They had this out there last time, and I sort of like the fact that they are continuing to do this, because if you're a kid and you even know who the LA Galaxy are, and like my son is 4 and he knows who the Galaxy are, he gets pretty excited. He's like, "Dude, the Galaxy playing?" I'm like, yeah, we'll be watching a game. Yeah, they're playing. And he's like, "Okay, good." That type of thing. If I told him and he was old enough that he got to go out and play on the same field as them, he'd be pretty stoked about it. And
is this like an elite camp, or is this
beginner
just kids go to have fun?
Beginner. It's a beginner camp. I mean, to me, that's the best. That's, you can wrap your arms around everything whenever that happens.
Yeah, there's too many elite camps. There needs to be more beginner camps.
Yeah, I'm all about beginner camps. That's usually where I start. Is right very much at the ski lessons, beginner, right? Swimming lessons, beginner. Yeah, beginner podcast. That's what this is as well. So that's there, and they have that camp going. I think the deadline to sign up is by February 2nd, so make sure that you do that. That's Friday. And then the LA Galaxy, of course, playing that game on Saturday at Dignity Health Sports Park on February 3rd. So that was it. Little more news, if we can go just a little bit further. Speaking of sort of youth, some U14 players got called up into the U15 youth national team for a domestic training camp in Mexico City from January 21st to 25th. So this already happened. I should have also checked that, but I wanted to just give a shout out again to Juan Carlos Martinez and Vicente Garcia, both with Mexico in that time, doing that domestic training camp in Mexico City. This is Kevin. I talked a little bit about this on Thursday, and we could look at it a little bit more, but there's a shift in the LA Galaxy. There's a shift in how they're doing development. There's a shift in how they're treating the academy, G2, and all those things. You're starting to see them sell players from the academy, from G2. And that's a shift in that before the Galaxy were very much letting people go for free. And it was Dennis DeClosa, I know, because he and I used to have discussions about this all the time, was talking about not letting players go for free, even at the youth level. And the fact that the LA Galaxy with Alcala or Ortez have sold players for even a trivial amount of money. It doesn't have to be a lot, but that they're selling players, and that they're able to go out there and make the lower levels of the LA Galaxy a cash flow to sort of the senior team and everything that's going on in the development team, and not just let players that they've spent a lot of money developing go for free. I was going to say, this goes back to 2017. Talk about the missed opportunity. If you remember, one of the reasons the Galaxy got rid of a lot of the first team players and started to try to rely on the academy, call guys up, as Dan Beckerman said, look, we're spending a ton of money on player development, and we're not reaping any benefits from that. Guys are leaving. They're not playing first team minutes. We develop guys for 5 or 6 years and they never play on the first team. We need to get some bang for our buck here. And it took them a while to figure it out. But I think you're right. I think Dennis DeClosa helped them turn the corner. And now they're beginning to profit from this. This is something that's been in the works for a while, though, trying to figure out the best way to do that.
and it looks like they finally hit on some sort of model.
Yeah, and so look at these players. Again, there are only 11 starting spots for the LA Galaxy on the senior team. There are only 30 roster spots for LA Galaxy players on the senior team. You have, academy teams, you have G2, you look at these, you go, oh, there's 30 players on this team, there's 30 players on that team. There's 90 players basically that are playing for the LA Galaxy that are competing for 11 spots at the senior team level eventually. There's no way you're ever going to get most of those guys ever to play for the LA Galaxy senior team. So what are you doing? And by the way, the side shoot of this is that even in the worst case scenario as academy kids, those kids are going to college, right? I mean, that's the worst case scenario sort of, is that they're getting to play, they're getting time, they're getting scouted, and they're getting either, full rides, partial rides, that type of thing to go to college and play soccer still. So that's the worst case sort of scenario here, is you're still developing kids and getting them to an education, which, by the way, huge plus whenever you talk about sports and being able to do that.
When you talk about those 90 players, a baseball general manager told me that, because I was confused about, hey, you sign a draft pick and he never plays for the team. What a waste. You guys wasted that money. And he goes, no, everybody that we have under contract. So in the Galaxy, you talk about this 90-person group. Every one of those people is a resource. Now, if a guy advances to the first team, that's obvious that how you use that resource. But other guys, you use them in training, you sell them, you tell their rights, you loan them out, whatever it is. Each one of those 90 players is a resource, and you try to get some sort of benefit from that, whether it's first team minutes or whether it's, again, selling them or transferring them and making some money. So it took a while for the Galaxy to figure out how to do that. And I think that's been true for most of MLS. FC Dallas, Philadelphia, some other teams have had some success. For the most part, I don't know that any team or many teams have gotten their academy system to pay off and actually make it into the black. I think they're all in the red.
Yeah, absolutely. No, FC Dallas is one of those where you would say, they've really sort of have a development. But you're right. If you're not selling the majority of players, if you're not selling even half of them, then, if you're not selling, you have to make the ones that are good that you can't use pay for the rest of the system, right? This is how you make it sort of this operating machine, this fun thing. And I don't believe that sports teams always make money. They shouldn't. That's clearly not not how the way to profitability is not to own a sports team. And if you look at that, most of the times these are loss leaders for them, right? They're taking losses.
It's when you sell the team.
It's when you sell the team. Yep. It's always about the appreciation. Yeah.
But think about the academy. You have teachers. You feed the kids. They have that. Take showers. They have to have a gym. They have to have a field to play on, balls to play on, uniforms. It doesn't sound like a lot, but when you get 90 and then you add that up, I don't believe any of those guys have to pay to go there. I think it's all, if they're in the academy system, they're in the school and they're in all of that for free.
I believe that is correct. No, go ahead. No, was that it? Were you done? Sorry. Okay. I didn't mean to.
Done a long time ago. I was done before we started.
This is absolutely true. Let's get a little bit to the LA Galaxy now and playing that first scrimmage. Now, LA Galaxy played to a 1-1 draw with the San Jose Earthquakes, right? This was on Saturday. We know that the LA Galaxy's goal scorer was none other than new signing, Mr. Miguel Berry. Put away the first goal. So Galaxy finished the first game with San Jose, closed door scrimmage, 1-1. Now, if you went and looked at the photos that the LA Galaxy put out, there was clearly a directive for all of this. And that directive was this: don't show any photos that have San Jose players in them, because you will not see one picture of a San Jose player in there. So if you don't see a picture of a player that you thought surely would have played, there's a good chance they did play. As a matter of fact, from what Vanny was saying, is they knew they were going to be shorthanded enough to where they would need to. The Galaxy 2 was actually playing against Nordlands FC or FC Nordlands, and that G2 game ended up being 5-1 to Nordlands, and they got a 14-year-old player who was actually playing in that group with that G2 game, because some of the G2 guys are up playing with the senior team because they're trying to fit in and get everybody. Vanny was very clear. He was like, there's a lot of minutes for people. And it was one of those things where I looked at it and said, again, I think I said this on Thursday, there's always minutes in the preseason for everybody. There are minutes to be had everywhere. And so if you didn't see a player that you thought probably would play, I know a lot of people were saying, oh, Jonathan Bond didn't play. You have no idea. And quite honestly, I have no idea. I would expect he did play. I would expect McCarthy played as well. There certainly was a picture of Mitrovic And because you could see him, that's easy to sort of say. I was able to go through the pictures and sort of pulled out everybody I could find. So these are the players that they were pictured and that we are fairly certain actually played in this game. Julian Alde, Mark Delgado, you had Miguel Berry, you had Lepley, you had Fagundes, you had Vivi, Cerrillo, Yoshida, Ferkranis, Micevic, Yamane, and Mavinga. Now, the most interesting one out of all of those was, of course, the new one, Miki Yamane, because Greg Vanney was talking in his press conference on Thursday, Kevin, and said, no, I don't think Miki's going to play in this game. There's no need to rush him. There's no need to get him out there. There's no need to put any sort of pressure on him. So no, the answer is, I don't think he's going to play the whole deal. Well,
there he is.
There he is. Yeah, Miki Yamane played in this game. I would imagine the reason that happened wasn't because the Galaxy were shorthanded, because you can just not play some people, or you play a younger kid for a little bit longer if you want to do that. The big reason that they probably played him, Kevin, in my mind, is you sit there and go, clearly this guy's in shape and can play, right? Like, you're watching him train. You're like, he's fine to probably play, 15, 20 minutes. And who knows how many minutes he ended up playing. We don't know. It was, as we sort of hinted at the very beginning, it was very much in the spirit of this was a closed-door scrimmage and we don't want to talk about it. And that's cool. I don't mind that. I will say the only bit of information that I was able to pull out was that this game was not really a 1-1 game in terms of how it was played. That at least according to people who are absolutely biased in this situation, and I will 100% get behind the fact that these people are biased, so take it for what it's worth. But basically said that this was not a 1-1 game. This game looked like it was one that the Galaxy maybe could have scored more goals in, and sort of took advantage. Again,
it looked like that was the practice field. You said closed doors. It's really closed gate, I think.
Closed gate, yeah.
Pretty open. That's on the practice field. Obviously.
It's out front. It's out front on the practice fields, right? On the U.S. soccer fields is what we call them. But that's where the Galaxy usually train. That's where Greg Vanney trains. And we always tell this anecdote, but it was Robbie Keane who said, why are we training in the back? Because Bruce Arena always used to have them train on the back field in the back corner, which was a cool little secluded place, and it was easy to get to whenever you were driving in for training, right? But they actually started training out front on the U.S. soccer fields, and the reason they did that because Robbie Keane says, "Are you kidding me? Show pictures of you training underneath palm trees. You'll get anybody you want to come here and play, right?" And so that's sort of the whole idea behind this. But yeah, that's all I can tell you about closed door scrimmage. There really isn't that much. So it's I don't know. I will say this, and understanding I understand this is not the best way to describe this, but I'm going to say it anyway. The LA Galaxy ship right now, in terms of the organization and everything that's going on, very airtight. Very airtight. They are very much in we know we have something going and we're not going to talk about it that much. We don't need to talk about it right now. And that's a quiet confidence that I haven't seen from the LA Galaxy in a while. And I am the first one that will always say, Kevin, people who are confident usually tell you how it happens. I will say that this is not coming from non-confidence or being unconfident, right? This is coming from confidence to the fact that everything is nice and quiet and everything is sort of very locked in right now. Not a lot of people want to talk.
The last couple of years, we heard about how great everything was going to be and how it was all fitting together and they had a plan and all these kind of things. And then it never really reached fruition. It seems like there is a different tack this year. It's like, we're going to be quiet and we're just going to show you. And hopefully that plan will work out a little bit better.
It's different than we're not talking because we think things are bad. I will say that right now. I do not get that impression whatsoever because I can usually tell when that's happening. That's not where we are. So with the scrimmage, the LA Galaxy start their preseason, their first of 6 games that they will be playing here in the preseason. The LA Galaxy go 1-1 versus the San Jose Earthquakes, 1 goal against, 1 goal scored. So Miguel Berry is currently your preseason goal leader. Dun, 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 dun. Remember whenever, who was it? Kevin Cabral was preseason goal leader. And then I think Chicharito eventually took that over in the preseason. But that's where we sit right now. We'll sort of keep an eye on this and track this. And then as we talked about, the Galaxy play St. Louis this weekend. You'll be able to watch that. But you'll be able to go to the game if you are so inclined. And then they will be able to ship off to the CVI. They're off to Coachella Valley Invitational. When they go there, then the preseason really starts. You can look at games against Charlotte. You can look at games against Austin, of course, that we'll be at. We have the New York City FC game and the New York Red Bulls. And then when all that is said and done, Kevin, the LA Galaxy will head on down to Dignity Health Sports Park on the 25th of February, and they will get ready to play Inter Miami. They will get Leo Messi. They will get all those guys. Jordi Alba, Luis Suarez, who looks like maybe he'll need a walker if he keeps playing. But hey, that's just me. All of these things that are happening right now are leading up to this 25th, which means that we can sort of look at this, Kevin, and understand the Galaxy have 6 preseason games. They now have 5 preseason games left until they're ready to face Messi. That's it.
Now, St. Louis, is that an open door scrimmage?
Yes.
It is an open door,
Well,
right?
it's not only open door, it's you have to get tickets to come see us. That's how
So
open
you have to
door.
buy just like CBI, you got to buy tickets. By the way, you spoke of Suarez. I saw a thing on the other day. He said that because of all the operations and things that he's had and injuries, it takes him 3 days to recover between games. So welcome to MLS, Luis Suarez, because you're not going to get 3 days to rest between a lot of games.
It was definitely one of those things I was sort of watching today whenever I was watching the game, is sort of his mobility. But it's one of those as well. This is preseason. Those guys are going to cook. They'll be just fine. So I think the Galaxy will still have this really tall task. And we talk about them having a tall task without a totally complete roster, Kevin. As a matter of fact, an incomplete roster as we sit right now. But I was told that, and perhaps on Thursday we talked about this a little, but just in conversations I've had, is there's a lot of don't sleep on the core of this team, that the Galaxy feel really good about the guys they brought back, that they sort of have in place in camp right now, and 23 players right now into the LA Galaxy camp, really just waiting on those designated players. Gabriel Pec, that Kevin, this is one that we've been watching and following. This is one that you and I have talked about. This is one you and I have said, this deal is done. They're just waiting for announcement. And I think, it feels like that's happening sooner rather than later. We're not blowing smoke up on anybody, right?
No, I think it could be announced soon. I mean, it's done. I think we know, or we assume from everything we've been told, that it's done. It's just not announced. Now, what the hang-up is, did he need to go through a physical? Did he need to get some paperwork? Whatever. I would expect that will happen soon. I had the chance to talk to both Greg Vanney and Will Kuntz today, and Will Kuntz talked about the transfer window, which doesn't end everything, but it does mark maybe the beginning of the end or whatever. The transfer window closes in Europe this week, and he said you're kind of on a shot clock right now, and he expects a lot of these things that they've been trying to get done will get done. Gabriel Pec might be one. The Paintsil is still out there. Will expects to have all the designated player spots filled by the start of the season. He expects to get that done, whatever. And he's working on multiple tracks. Pec, we think, will be done soon. Then Paintsil, if Paintsil doesn't come through and the transfer window in Belgium closes on Thursday, he has places to move on to where the transfer window will not be an issue. So he's confident he's going to get something done. I did ask both Will and Greg about the idea. This seems to be an annual occurrence with transfers or designated players or players coming in, signing so late. I said, would you guys prefer to move the start of the MLS season maybe into early March? Because even best case scenario, if Gabriel Pec is announced tomorrow or Wednesday, he's not going to be here on Thursday. So by the time he gets in here, Greg said, with the kind of guys they're looking at, these guys are playing right now.
Right.
They're fit.
Right.
He said the only thing is they need chemistry with their teammates, but he thinks that the positions they want them to play as wingers, feeding the middle. He said that's kind of a basic soccer thing that you learn growing up. There's not a lot of nuance to that. Yes, there's chemistry and other things, but the point is he thinks they can fit in fairly quickly. The idea of pushing the season to March, he said, we're going to have like 7 games in May. We're going to play 9 or 11, just to move this back.
Right.
It's not really worth it. But he also said that I found something really interesting. He said the delay in a lot of these guys is a good thing for MLS. And he says, it's just not the Galaxy. It's just not LAFC. It's all the teams. They have slow developing winters because they have decided they're going to go for a certain player, and that's the player they want. And they don't, he said, clubs will come to you and say, look, we may not be ready to release this guy right now. We might want for a replacement to come in. We might be waiting for something, but we'll give you this other guy who's, he's not quite as good, but he's, and Greg said that guy doesn't tick all our boxes. We don't want that guy.
Yeah. We're
going to wait and get the guy we want. And if he falls through, we'll try again in the summer. He said that's a whole different mindset from MLS of just a few years ago. It would be like, okay, we'll take the guy that's available right now and pass up the guy that we really wanted.
Raphael, by the way, gave us a $5 super chat, said COG, only good thing about Mondays. Thanks, guys. Oh, see, look at that. We're better than Mondays. We're better than
Manic Monday.
Kicking the balls, the golden balls. That's what he's basically saying. I'll say this, and I'll couch it as carefully as I can. we talk about Pec as being done, and I feel like that's all good, correct information, and you're going to get your satisfaction out of that sooner rather than later. That's what that feels like. We talk about Paintsil, and I know there's a lot of question marks around it, but the fact that everything went really quiet, and the fact that I can't get anybody to kill it, right? Usually, it's easy to kill rumors, right? We do this all the time. I can figure out who we're talking about, who are the interwebs talking about today. Hey. And then I can go off and we can talk to different people and say, hey, have you ever heard of this guy? My favorite response so far this year was, I just learned that guy's name right now when you asked me. That was my favorite one. So usually that's a pretty good indication of what's going on and what's not going on, right? But I will say that nobody can kill the Paintsil rumor. And that to me means that there's still something there. In fact, it feels like there's still a lot there. So I don't think we're on the, it's done. But with the transfer window closing in Belgium on Thursday, and by the way, that does not affect the LA Galaxy bringing anybody in. I think you explained this, Kevin. It's really about if they were going to lose Paintsil, who has the $8.5 million release clause, they need to bring somebody in back behind in order to make sure that when he leaves, when Paintsil leaves, that they have somebody. And so the Thursday deadline is more of a gank deadline if the Galaxy get Paintsil.
Now, is Paintsil the guy who can play as a striker, as a forward, as well as a winger?
He's more of a winger. This is more of a winger guy, right? So, I think you're still relying on, and if you ask Vanny and if you ask, Will Kuntz, if you ask those guys what's going on, they're going to tell you that Dejan Joveljic is their striker. But we've always been told that, perhaps a winger could also come in and play striker as well, right? And we talked about if that was I think that was Abubakar who we were talking about possibly being that striker guy who you could put at striker and then Fagundes comes in and fills in on the other wing and then you have Pec on the other side, right? Like there's these rotations on Thursday. We talk about the rotations and the movements of the midfield and how you can get guys into good positions even if you're sort of playing in a backup. So the Galaxy, I wouldn't be surprised if they still add sort of a veteran type striker at a lower wage a little bit later on in this window. But for when we're talking about Paintsil and all of this, really the Thursday window closure is not for the LA Galaxy. It's for Genk to get somebody in case Paintsil leaves. Right now, as long as the window is open in Major League Soccer, anybody can transfer out as long as the window is open where you're going. That's all that ever means. As long as the window is open where you're going, it is open for you to move.
It does affect things. It doesn't close things out. If you're looking for a veteran striker, there's this guy, Billy Sharp. I don't know if you've heard of him. Yeah. He would be a good addition. But the reason I asked that about the versatility of Paintsil is in talking to Vanny, I was trying to read between the lines, and obviously we don't know what deals are done or close. They're not going to run them by us. They probably should, but they're not going to. But Vanny we talked a lot about Dejan Joveljic and Vanny trying to show confidence in him. Dejan is an emotional guy, and I think when the manager says you're our guy, right? You feed off of that if you're Dejan. But at the same token, you as a coach, you need to sort of cover your bets. And so, Vanny talked about bringing in somebody that would be a typical winger but could play forward if needed to. And he talked about Joveljic. I said I really like Joveljic as a guy off the bench, and he said, well, what happens is when he comes off the bench, it's late in the game that, guys are tired, that the field has opened up a little bit, and that's what made him so effective. And so he said, if we want Dejan to be effective from the start of the game, we have to find a way to open it up. And that's with wingers, with speed, playing wide, because he said Dejan is a box forward. He stays in the box. He's not going to score from 30 yards out. He's a little bit of a poacher. And that's the way he plays. You need to feed him, but you need to open it up so that he has space to operate. And he did indicate, without saying it verbatim, but he did sort of indicate that Dejan's our guy at the start of the season. We have confidence in him. We think he can do it. We're going to give him the opportunity. But if he doesn't take advantage of it, it sounds like the leash is going to be a little bit short. Yeah. That if Dejan's not producing, that they're going to make a move rather quickly. And that's what you talked about, having that backup forward either on the radar or available when the season starts.
Well, again, Miguel Berry is the guy who scored in this preseason, right? He's the opposite of Joveljic, right? So he's a taller guy. I think he's 6'3" whenever you look at it. So he looks huge in these pictures too, if you've seen him. So a big guy, more physical than what Joveljic is going to be, more of a target in the air, right? So whenever you bring on a second striker or whenever you bring on somebody to change things up, Berry right now is that guy. Now, Berry has an atrocious record in Major League Soccer. Outside of his time with Columbus, he's really floundered almost everywhere he's gone. So you can't necessarily rely on him, but there also is this last year with Joveljic and sort of his struggles, and trying to match the first year with Joveljic and how he was successful and what he did and how it sort of goes along. Listen, the Galaxy are going to give Joveljic every chance to be successful in this, but you're right. There's a short leash here. And that's why I still think that there's possibly a veteran acquisition sort of in that striker role, somebody who's not going to get a whole bunch of time, but if you need to bring him in late in games, if you need to bring him in to sort of hold down the fort while you figure out where to move Joveljic and how to bring somebody else in, that's the guy that you're going to rely on. A lot of pressure, I think, on the Galaxy, certainly for Will Kuntz relying on Joveljic, certainly on Vanny for relying on Joveljic, and on Dejan Joveljic. This is not a small task that he's being given. By the way, Dejan Joveljic, go ahead and you get to replace Chicharito, right? Chicharito, who just had an emotional return to Chivas in Guadalajara.
What a surprise! Who saw that coming?
I know. It's one of those.
Well, it's tough for you of us. I mean, look at the Galaxy of, spent a lot of money in the back line. There's 3 top flight goalkeepers, a midfield anchored by Riqui Puig, bringing in, we assume, 2 highly paid DPs to be wingers, all to feed Joveljic. It's all set up to go to Joveljic.
It is.
The only way you're going to win games is to score goals. You can have a great defense and play to a tie every game. The only way to win is to score goals. That falls to Dejan Joveljic. And so you want to say, on one hand, you're our guy, we're confident in you. But then if you sign a backup, he's already looking over his shoulder. It's like the starting pitcher takes the mound with the bullpen guys throwing already. You don't want to do that to him. You don't want to kill his confidence when you spend all this money and time and energy to make him the guy. But at the same token, you can't just say, hey, this guy who's never really been an everyday starter for a full season, we're banking our season on him. That you can't do that either. It's really a tough situation.
I will say that it's not like everything is going to fall on Joveljic. Certainly with Pec is goal dangerous, right? If we talk about Paintsil and what the Galaxy are doing there and perhaps getting him, he's goal dangerous himself, right? You talk about Brugman and possibly playing with Riqui. Those are 2 goal dangerous players as well, right? So you have the ability to score goals around Joveljic. It's just that you would like to use Joveljic so that way it frees up the other guys to also score goals, right? It's one of those. I think Tom Bogert was saying that if the Galaxy were able to land, and certainly he looks at Pec on one side, and if they were able to land Paintsil, that all Joveljic would have to do is be like an average MLS striker, nothing crazy, nothing amazing, that type of thing. You're talking about a guy who could put in 8, 9, 10 goals for you, and if they have the other talent around them, that there should be goals by committee. It should be Paintsil, it should be Pec, it should be Puig, it should be Brugman, right? And it should be Joveljic. And if you start getting 6, 7 goals from each of those guys, that adds up. That's an offense. And the Galaxy didn't struggle on offense last year, despite the fact that at points it was absolutely an offensive struggle, like maybe through the first half. But as they started scoring goals, they did pretty well. It's just that they played no defense. There's an article right now up on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Catamount, who's been writing for us, took a look at Pec and took a look at Puig and how they play together. Really interesting sort of analysis from that. And I'm interested to sort of see how that goes. So, by the way, Luis gives us a $10 super chat. Thank you, Luis. Appreciate you. Thank you for that. I'm interested to see how Puig plays with Pec and how they sort of manage this offensive side. But I don't think Joveljic has to be a world beater to be successful this year. I think he has to have an average season.
I think the Galaxy are in trouble if Riqui Puig is trying to be Steph Curry again, shooting from downtown. He doesn't need to take those long shots. But, Columbus won an MLS Cup last year. I think they may have had 1, maybe 2 players scoring double digits. Now they brought in Diego Rossi and guys at the end of the season, changed things around. But they didn't have they didn't have anyone competing for the Golden Boot that I remember. And I could be wrong, but it seemed to me that they were sort of a modest scoring team. They did it by committee. A lot of guys contributed, and that paid off in the championship.
Yeah. It doesn't. Again, goals by committee is just fine. In fact, it's the more balanced you can be, the more dangerous you are a lot of times. When you rely on one person to do all of your stuff, if you take that one person out of the game, a lot of times you can affect things. Now, if that person is Zlatan, then you don't have to worry about it because you can try to take him out of the game and it won't work, right? It's one of those. But you're talking about Dejan Joveljic here. He's going to get his opportunities. The crosses are going to be there. Pec likes to take guys on one-on-one. He likes to dribble back through defenses. That means that whenever he gets in the box, he's able to sort of turn and find places. He played, I think, the entire second half today for the Brazilian pre-Olympic tournament in Brazil, and I think they ended up beating Ecuador 2-1 in that game, if I remember correctly. He came on in the second half, and when it was 1-1, and they ended up winning 2-1. So he's been getting steady minutes through all of this. He sits on the bench, but he'll come off in the second half. There's a lot of games to be played in this pre-Olympic tournament. We've talked about that. One of the reasons we think that everything is sort of delayed is because of the fact that there's a pre-Olympic tournament and that he's playing in it, and that he hasn't been able to get released from that in order to come join the LA Galaxy. But eventually what you would expect is, as this tournament winds down, and we expect Brazil will sort of be there whenever things wind down for it, that he will eventually make his way towards the LA Galaxy and head in that direction. So that announcement comes sooner rather than later, if that's what your ultimate goal is. And I think you've talked about it as well, Kevin. Still all of the immigration stuff that has to go through, visas and all that fun stuff. So it's still going to be a wait, even if they announce Pec, on the show in 5. Let me check my text message. Nope, nothing. I figured we'd try.
Well, he's 22 and he's already played 178 games for Vasco. Yeah. I mean, that's a ton of games for a guy that age. That's a lot of experience. It's like getting a 24, 25-year-old. I mean, and that's not USL. I mean, that's a really competitive league with great players.
Right. It was funny. Somebody's asking, by the way, Catamount is a pen name for somebody who's writing for us. And they have an analytical mind. Somebody asked, is Catamount a reporter? I wouldn't say they're a reporter. I'll just say that there is mystery around all of what they do, but the articles are on point, and the analysis I usually find to be real close to what I would be saying as well. So absolutely 100% pay attention to those articles.
How'd you get Will Kuntz to write for you under that name?
I know, right? He just showed right up. No, I always wait for Kuntz to have like some sort of burner account, like in the chat in here that says like, not Will Kuntz or something like that. That's what I feel. So somebody says this is a pseudonym for Kevin. No, Kevin won't put his name on anything. So I don't know if you've seen that.
Yeah. Except the check.
Yeah, that's right. $10 super chat from Patrick says, look forward to watching some Galaxy soccer. Patrick, we're all there with you. I don't want to keep trying to find things to talk about. I'd rather just talk about games. And so I'm excited the fact that we will get to talk about games here very shortly and get everybody rotating through that. We talked about the roster. Here is some news, and by a contributor to Corner of the Galaxy, Mr. Alex Ruiz. He broke this news, and that
AKA Catamount.
Yeah, no, that's not him either. Trust me, Alex would put his name on something too. Alex put out a report on Twitter, and this was yesterday, 7:38 a.m. in the morning, by the way. So on a Sunday morning, Alex was up nice and early. He was saying, a source has told me Riqui Puig will wear the number 10 shirt this season for the LA Galaxy. The number was previously held by Douglas Costa, whose contract expired this winter. Puig had previously worn the number 6 shirt since his arrival in 2022. So all of that seems fairly accurate. Galaxy put out a video today. I'm not saying these two things are linked, but you can connect the dots if you want. Galaxy put out a video today showing a number 10 shirt created by Raul. Preston number 10 didn't have a name on it, but if Alex is correct, which I assume he is, I think you can sort of tell where that is going. Of course, the number 10 last worn by Mr. Douglas Costa, who's now playing for Fluminense down in Brazil with his best friend Lucas Caligari down there. So number 10 for Puig is a big deal. Number 10, and by the way, sort of matching that billboard that got put up, Kevin, where it says it's going to get messy. Or it's getting messy, like one of those, where Riqui Puig was up there and everybody, now it's number 10 versus number 10, right? They're right there looking at each other. So, a little elevation for Senor Puig, as he continues his sort of elevate his game. This is a big year for Riqui Puig, Kevin. Whenever we look at what Riqui needs to do this year, he's going to be a full designated player, as we've talked about. His contract basically has escalators in it that will put him close to, I think, $3 million a year. So he is an absolute full designated player this year. And because of that, you want to see a full designated player performance out of him. The biggest thing that we've seen, Kevin, of course, is the fact that he sometimes doesn't play defense, and that's probably his biggest weakness. Pec plays defense for sure. He can come back and track back and get on the ball, and he likes to cut out lanes and do all that sorts of fun stuff. So he's getting some help with Pec there. The other thing is that if Riqui Puig starts playing defense, game is on. And by the way, the best thing in the world that could happen for the LA Galaxy is Riqui Puig figures out how to play like just a little bit of defense, because that would make his stock around the world go straight up in the air. I was speaking to people about Riqui Puig, and it was sort of mentioned, the reason that the LA Galaxy were able to get Riqui Puig so sort of easily and quickly was one of the reasons is because people think he doesn't play any defense. And so if he can do that and add that to his game, Riqui Puig could have a huge day. By the way, Jonathan gave us a $2 super chat, says Catamount is Adam Serrano. Nope, that's not it either. That's not it either. Let's see. $2 super chat from Angelino818. Any news on special retail pieces? Need more stuff. Hang in there. I am working on having a special guest possibly on Thursday, but we have to get a lot of stuff cleared in order for that to happen. So don't hold your breath, but just wait. Give me a little bit. And we will see if we can get somebody on the show to talk about that. I will say that if you are interested in any of that stuff, on our Discord, we have had special guests who work for the LA Galaxy who actually talk and ask what fans are looking for, what kind of stuff you're into. It's a way to engage the fans, certainly, but it's also a way, I think, to tap into stuff, and that's on our Discord. The Discord link is always on all the episodes, so whenever we publish an episode, you can find the Discord link. Come join us. I think there's over 1,000 people in there now. There's usually some good conversations, except right now I'm about to close the transfer rumor channel down because everybody just keeps making up rumors because they're tired of it being quiet. So that's something I try not to tolerate too much of, but they're in there right now making up general vague rumors about things that will not happen in there. But there's lots of channels in there. It's sort of like the AOL chat rooms of the 1990s, maybe 90, 96, 97, somewhere in there when I was in high school and able to get into the AOL chat rooms.
You went to high school?
I did. Graduated and everything.
So Tyler Boyd wore number 11 last year, correct?
I believe so, yes.
Because that's Gabriel Pec's number. So that's now available.
If that happens, then that's that's an easy
I would
one.
guess he would take the 11, which clears Riqui to take the 10 if he so desires.
Yeah, no truth, by the way, Jose, to COG banana hammocks in times for Valentine's Day. I don't think that's happening. We're not going to go with the thongs for Valentine's Day. COG thongs. I think maybe we'll wait for like 4th of July for that. That's what it sees. Yeah, there we go.
Well, that's something I can't unsee now.
Jonathan says COG Omar Gonzalez Memorial banana hammocks. Right? Remember when Omar flashed the entire LA Galaxy MLS Cup winning team in 2011? 2012, one of those. So that was there. So yeah, that's what we got. That's sort of where we're sitting there. Gary in the chat room says Kevin Baxter from Everton to the Galaxy for the price of one Los Angeles Times subscription, right? Do you get to
somebody's gonna buy one?
that's what we're always hoping for, right? So anyway,
I think your pseudonym writer might have been somebody that used to work for us.
Maybe could have been. Never know. I don't. To be honest with you, I can be very honest with you. I have no idea what this person's real identity is.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. I don't think
it
it's
could
important.
be AI. It could be AI.
Could be, absolutely. But somebody has to be telling it. Sort of. Usually with AI, even if you have it, you have to go in there and fix things, right? Somebody's fixing it very well, if that's the case. So I like it. There's mystery.
Where do you send the check?
Nowhere. That's the best part. It's as mysterious as the person, right? So
they get paid the same as me then.
Yeah. Yes, exactly the same as you. The last thing that I'll sort of bring up here before we can sort of head off.
Yeah, we went off the rails here about 20 minutes ago.
It's fine. Is I went and checked the registration ban website again for FIFA. The Galaxy's still showing on that. Again, this seems like it's a lagging issue more than anything. It's just a lag. The LA Galaxy apparently already through this. Remember, there was a training compensation claim that was put against the Galaxy for $4,500. That has been resolved. I don't know what the exact outcome is of that is, but we've already talked about that whenever we announced that the Galaxy were under a registration ban. So that should be going away here rather quickly, I would imagine. But I'll just keep checking that every once in a while just to make sure to sort of see where everything is.
But technically, at this moment, the Galaxy remains scofflaws.
Yep.
In the eyes of FIFA.
Yeah. By the way, Lex says no talk about the leak kit. Lex, go to Thursday. That stuff broke on Thursday. We've already talked about it. And then they had EAFC, the video game. Kevin, I knew you were going to be confused. EAFC put out and apparently leaked all of the MLS kits that were coming out. So the LA Galaxy kit, the one that we talked about on Thursday, now showing the ghosted sash that's in there. And It was funny. Eric, the Hammer, texted me today, and he goes, "Man, I think I'm going crazy. Do people not like that kit? Like they don't like it?" I'm like, I don't know. I think it's great. I just even from the low res version, I think it's going to be an absolute banger of a kit. I know there's lots of people who don't like it. I mean, there's only so many things you can do, and I thought this was a great thing that hasn't been done. So I'm very, very, optimistic on how it goes. Well, do I think it's going to sell out in minutes? No. Do I think it's going to end up being a very popular kit? Yes. I think it's going to be a very popular kit.
Tiny Eric, little tiny Eric. Yeah, I thought EA was East Anglian Football Club.
No, not it.
And what do you think of the new sponsor, the New Jersey sponsor for the Galaxy?
I mean, the same one, just in a different font, that type of thing. Different font for Herbalife. And by the way, Lex is correct that this news did break over the weekend. It was one of those, and so we retweeted. I don't have a picture. Quite honestly, I don't want to show the picture because it's this fuzzy thing, and you're trying to look at it. And I know everybody's seen it at this point. I was going to look for it while we were doing the show, but then I got distracted texting people and doing stuff. So I forgot to put it on there. But no, the kit and Eric will be on, I think, on Thursday. And so we'll talk a little bit more about that because we sort of talked about it on Thursday about what it could look like with sort of seeing the bottom of it from a Jalen Neal picture. You could see the pinstripes in there. So pinstripes come down and then the ghosted sash that sort of goes across that. To my knowledge, I don't think anybody's going to deny this. That is the kit. Now, I think you're going to find that it's going to be a lot sharper in kit pictures and everything else that is going on. So once those details sort of release, we'll rock and roll with that.
Did you see Inter Miami has a new shirt sponsor? They had a local group that was sponsoring their kits in the first couple of seasons, and they did really well when Messi came in. They sold a ton of shirts, but now Royal Caribbean has come in, and if you've ever been around Miami, you know the cruise industry there is huge. So Royal Caribbean came in and they paid $25 million a season to be the jersey kit sponsor for Inter Miami, which is, I mean, their shirts will be sold all over the world now.
I was at a mall in Colorado over the weekend. I was visiting my oldest, and I went and saw, and there was a like one of those central kiosks, and they had Man City shirts, and there was a Messi Inter Miami kit, and I was like, I wonder if there's any LA Galaxy ones, because I remember it would have been like Beckham or Donovan or that type of thing. Usually those would sell all the time too, but didn't see it. So, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of seeing MLS kits. I did not see any Inter Miami kits while I was traveling. I think I did see an MLS kit though. I can't remember which one it was. I wasn't surprised. It was probably like either a Rapids or actually I would be shocked and I'd grab my chest if I saw a Colorado Rapids kit in Colorado. That almost never happens, but it might have been like an RSL kit or something like that was near the Rocky Mountains there. So it didn't surprise me.
You know who wears a Colorado Rapids kit? Kevin Cabral.
That's what I've heard. I've heard that. Let's see. I was going to say who else? Is it Remy? Is Remy there now too? They signed him and then they loaned him down to Phoenix Rising, I believe. Remy Cabral. So Colorado signed Remy and then loaned him down to Phoenix. I believe that was the direction it went. So that's where we got. By the way, Gary says, rad show as always, gentlemen. Thank you. $5 super chat. We appreciate the super chats. They weren't working on Thursday night, so we appreciate that they are working tonight.
Ka-ching, ka-ching.
Yeah, it's exactly. It's anything helps at this point. Just a reminder, once again, February 11th, get your tickets for the Coachella Valley Invitational. We're going to do a live show out there.
Taylor Swift.
No,
With Taylor Swift.
Don't say that. Don't. I'm not getting sued for stupid stuff you say. I really have tried really hard not to get sued for stupid stuff you say.
But you got all those super chats now that'll pay for it.
Yeah. I'm sure. So February 11th, we'll be out there at the Coachella Valley Invitational. The map, of course, is on your screen right now where you can find us. We're in that south east corner right next to Field 1. So you'll be able to find us there, and our tent will be set up rather early whenever you walk in, so you should be able to see us. So stop by and say hi. We'll be there. And then when the game starts, we're going to go watch the game. And then as the game starts to wrap up, Kevin and I will take our positions over there, and we'll see if we can get through it. With all the guests that I am pretty sure that we have, it's going to be a good show. There's going to be a lot of people to talk to, so we're excited that that's going to be the case. All right. Anything else, Kevin? Absolutely not, because I know for a fact that you didn't have anything to begin with. Let me hold on before you even get there. Saturday, February 3rd, 2024, 1 p.m. LA Galaxy versus St. Louis in the very first open door scrimmage of the 2024 season. You can get it at Dignity Hill Sports Park, and of course, it'll be streamed on LAGalaxy.com like all of the preseason games will be this year. Anything else? Are you good?
You want me to tell them who our guests are going to be on the 11th?
Absolutely not. Because you have
Maybe Taylor Swift.
because you have no idea. You have no
Travis
idea.
Kelce.
Yeah, I don't. None of them. Absolutely not. So, all right. If you're looking for Mr. Kevin on Twitter and X, it's at KBaxter11. Head over to the LATimes.com where you can find Kevin's articles, talking soccer, all that fun stuff for LATimes.com. So make sure you go check Kevin out. If you're looking for me on Twitter and X, it's at Guesman, at Galaxy Podcast. CornerTheGalaxy.com is where you can find all of our shows, all of our information. Head on over to our Discord, SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all those fun places. Anywhere you get a podcast, you can find Corner of the Galaxy. All right, I think that about does it for Mr. Kevin, the Panda Baxter. I'm Josh Pato Guesman. You've been listening to Corner of the Galaxy from the box on CornerTheGalaxy.com. Have a great one, everybody.
You've been listening to the Corner of the Galaxy podcast on CornerOfTheGalaxy.com. You can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Galaxy Podcast. And be sure to check out and subscribe to iTunes, Stitcher, and Facebook by searching for Corner of the Galaxy. Fans, we thank you for listening, and we ask that you be kind and courteous to your neighbors as you leave the podcast. We thank you for joining us and look forward to seeing you again. Until then, I'm Michael Araujo, and on behalf of the entire Corner of the Galaxy crew, goodbye, everybody.